Hey, YouTube. Whoop, knocked the camera out. We are going to cut a couple clutches today. Give a few minutes for some people to show up. I'm pretty sure I made this public. And then we'll get to rocking and rolling. That's not in there, right? Clear some table space. I think I'm going to need some more room. There we are. All right, so we got one person here so far. It's a good start. I'm going to be like lazy today, so I'm going to get rolling fast. Well, it's a holiday. It's a holiday. Hopefully, you guys are having fun on this holiday. I know I spent my holiday, took my wife on a picnic today, which is a lot of fun. Not something we do very often. Got to try out some of my camping equipment, a little bit of a trail shade to keep things shady when we're out and about and whatnot. See how that worked out. It worked really good. We'll probably actually use it for tailgating. Not this year, because tailgating is against the law this year because of stupid COVID. But hey, let's get ourselves cleaned up. Let's cut some eggs. So this first clutch we're going to cut is actually going to be clutch 11. 11 and 12 were laid on the same day. 12 has not pipped, but since 11's got 3 pips, I figure we're ready. So let's flip this around. Boop. Maybe I can show you this at the same time I see it. We're going to try. Anyway, bear with me just a second. Trying to get this camera set up in a way which, oh, that's not too bad. Oh, didn't have the balance I needed. Do you guys deliver in Canada? I wish. We don't have any way to get stuff to Canada, unfortunately, as it sets right now. So this pairing would be a lesser pastel to a lesser. So I'm guessing right now this little guy here is just a pastel, and he is fine. See, that one there, I'm not 100% sure yet. We're going to open that up a little bit further. We're going to start with this one whose nose is just out. So that's what we're going to start with. Let me, maybe that'll work better. I won't be able to see comments too well, but at least you guys should be able to see what I'm doing a little bit better than some other times. This guy has cut this egg everywhere. See that? So we're going to just kind of work with what he's already done. Trying to bridge that gap, make it a little bit bigger. Okay. So there you go. You can kind of see that one. That is either going to be a lesser or a lesser pastel. Hard to tell right now. But we should see a lot of lesser in this clutch, you would think. And again, it's going to be hard for me to see comments for a few. But just because where the camera's at and where I'm at, trying to give you the best view of what's going on. That's not the best view for me to really see the comments. But with 2 lessers on either side, we have a shot at bells, which we know these first 3 are not bells. So I'm hoping these 2 are. Oh, the bells are just taking their sweet ass time. But that's definitely got lesser in it too. We have a lot of lesser this year, guys. I hope you guys are wanting some lesser. Come on, pop your little head out. That'd be awesome if you did. It was out before. That's probably got lesser pastel, looking at the head. Really cool snake. So now we're going to move on to these 2 here. Again, hope is for some all white snakes. We've already got some all white snakes. This is not going to be another one. There he is. See, reactive. He's got lesser in it as well. So last egg. I'm going to open you up a little bit more, guy. You look like you're having a bad time in there. Urgh. And then the next clutch should not have any surprises. I'll explain why. Oh my goodness, we missed on all the all-white snakes. One of the reasons why we have multiple clutches is So we can, okay, you're alive, doing good. But I think we got them all to have at least lesser in it except for one. There's going to be, that one's probably a straight lesser. Hard to say. That one's head looks pretty lesser pastel-y. And this one, I can't see your head. But you are blowing bubbles, which is slightly concerning. I'm going to make sure you can get your head up out of there. Your nose, because that's a lot of snake crammed into there. You had made mincemeat of that egg, so you should be able to figure it out. I would hope, the little guy. So let's see if we can't just open this one up a little bit more. Give it just a little more room. And that one's probably just a pastel. You can see that. So, you know, all in all, 5 live babies, and there's your nose up. Good boy. 5 live, or 1, 2, 3, you got 5 live babies. You can't ask for much more. I mean, I'd have loved to have had some bells there, but we didn't. So that is part of it. Now this pairing was going to be, not going to be, it was an albino to a Toffino. So this has been my albino girl. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No, this is my first year albino girl to lay these. So I'm going to go ahead and start with this egg right there. And it looks like it could have went bad. So I don't know if the egg's just getting ready to pip, and that's why we're like going bad, as they're just late to get out, or if we might have a problem in that egg. Would not surprise me either way. We're going to go ahead and cut it first. The shell doesn't feel bad. That's a good sign. But this could be a late term issue. Sometimes when that shell starts turning that way, you have that. Other times it's just the eggs kind of going south. Hey, no issues there. Looks good. Now these will, because we're an albino to a Toffino, and it's a possible toffee to an albino. I guess you guys can't see that too well. They should all be Toffinos. Or all the albinos are Toffinos. That one definitely looks to be Toffino. All that lavender is telling me Toffino. So no doubts there. There we got a good spot. Like I say, those haven't pipped. I know they should be ready. That also appears to be probably Toffino. And is doing good. Awesome. Here's a kicker too, guys. These are all Toffinos, because the first clutch from my Toffino male threw nothing but Toffinos. But we only had 3 eggs, so he was sold as a possible toffee, because colors were really good. But he took a while to get him in. So at first they thought he was just Toffino, and then they're like, he might actually be toffee, and so we bought him. And now we're going to kind of see what's going on here. And I'm starting to feel like he probably is a toffee, because that looks very Toffino-like too. Toffinos as babies don't have a super high contrast the albinos do, because of the lavender in here. So it's not as pow. But yeah, they actually, I think, look better as adults. So I like the Toffino, and they will look great as they go on too. Now see this one, I don't know if you can see that very well. There you go. I want to hold that to liquid. A little more possible albino-ish there. These are ones that you really got to wait until they've at least shed once to make 100% call, because the colors just aren't always going to be fully there yet. It's just part of the kind of the deal. We're going to go to this egg right here next. So I don't know for sure, until they shed. Some of them are easier to tell than others, So, like the last one, I thought I had 2 Toffinos and an albino originally. After some shedding. came clear it was all Toffinos. That one's doing good. All right, 2 more to go, guys. So far, everything's alive and doing well, including this little guy I was worried about, so cannot beat that. These are some thick-shelled eggs in places. I'm probably happy to be cutting them. There you can see the head. Really pretty snake. See how much purple that looks? That's going to probably be a Toffino. I'm really starting to lean towards my Toffino male being quite possibly 100% Toffee. And the reason they wouldn't have known for sure was what created him was a pairing of a Toffino to either a Toffino or a Toffee, I believe. Here's Squirmin in there. See, that's another look. It could be kind of albino-ish. Although I'm seeing some lavender in there. Have to kind of wait till it's out and has its first shed. But let me set you guys up here. Talk to myself for a few minutes now. All right. Here's the main thing. I know you'll get the best view. I do the best I can by myself, and I'm not trying to cut huge, get out of jail free things with these guys. We wanted to. I guess we're cutting more just to see and make sure they have an exit more than we are for like, hey, here's a cutting video. We also do it live because let's say that one little egg was bad, you're gonna see that. So I can't sit there and do an egg cutting and do it live and hide anything. Or if I film these and release them or not release them, if I had something go really bad, I could just put that in my back pocket and never share it. That used to be pretty common on YouTube. I'd say that was pretty standard across the board. I see a lot more people doing a lot more live stuff like we do, which I appreciate because I think that if you're looking at getting into breeding, seeing the good, like today, I think was all good. Now, did I smash the odds? Not really on the one clutch. We were hoping for some bells. We didn't get any bells. It is what it is. I'm probably going to overproduce lesser before the year is over in my quest to make more bells. But I never have a problem getting rid of lesser, so it's fine. Bells are the more valuable snake, though obviously it helps fund what we do. We do have 3 of them though, so no problem. Color up. Yeah, it does take a little while. Like you can't. It's you can look. Some things you can tell right away. A lot of things is better to compare. Take your time before you post it and say this is what it is because it does change with time. I know people who do the albino Toffino thing. We're getting Toffinos and albinos who will literally take 3 or 4 sheds just to make sure. And we did that on our last one. We had one that we kind of set on because I'm like, and then as it kept going, I'm like, oh, it's just getting more and more and more lavender, more and more and more Toffino, less looking like an albino. So we went kind of in between and we swung to one side. And again, look at this clutch. I'm starting to feel like we're going to be purely there. But the whole point of this is, and I had a clutch we cut that did not do really well. And, it was, that one. Yeah, you guys bought that one. And he's awesome looking. Just took a little while to get the color in. I had a clutch we cut that did not go well on camera. And we caught a lot of shit about it. I mean, it's going to happen. It's just part of it. Oh, I don't know, dude. I have to look. We got more shit to get laid, too. I mean, I'm still adding crap. We got some cool shit to come. I got another round of Toffinos will be next, because I know they laid pretty close to each other. But, like, it's, we didn't stop doing it. We didn't say, oh, no, we got some people with some negative feedback. We're going to quit going live. I know going live I'm going to have negative feedback. I know it. But I also think it's important for those who are getting into breeding, especially as the first time. And even if you've been in breeding for a while, then too, and if you have something bad happen and you watch and see it happens to other people, at least we're all in the same boat. And maybe nothing ever bad happens to you, and you can look at my shit and be like, hey man, I feel great because I got fucked shit up all the time, and I never do. If you feel that way, hey, that's awesome. I'm glad I can make you feel good. But the point of it is disclosure, right? Disclosure and transparency, and I really think that's missing on social media. So when I was there, yes, Anthony, I believe that was the one I sent when you were here. We shipped out. I don't remember when I shipped it out. Like I know all my Toffino stuff from last year is gone. It sold really really well, and we only had three. The one mom I was worried about she laid those eggs because she had 2 years of heavy slugs, including that year. But this year she laid, I want to say, 10 eggs. One of them was a slug, and 9 were viable. One of them she did retain for a day, but she passed it on her own. So like, yeah. So no worries when they do that. I didn't have to do any intervention. Like I didn't have to help move it or nothing. I just saw there was a lump, put her back. Thought I'll give her about 48 hours before I looked to see what to do, and she popped it out. No, I didn't. I mean, the only thought is something's got to have a bell complex run around, or something had to get put to it, or it could be, I don't know. I mean, again, that's not necessarily going to be my problem to figure out. That makes sense. We got some ideas. It might be, could have been a GHI lesser male being used instead of just a GHI male. I don't know. Which could be super lesser. It also could be that there's a gene running around there he wasn't aware of, and that's throwing bells. So, we know one of the genes in the bell would be lesser. We know that. The other gene in the bell, grab bag, throw it in there, see what the hell happens, kind of thing. That's, but obviously you're going to get something that's going to pass on a guaranteed super. So that's pretty cool. Now the lessers that we produce super lessers. So I know the bells I'll be put out as Olympus, when it's got an Olympus number and not a number with an A, is it was wild to watch. Like it shocked me. I mean, and I have a few caddies I've done that. I don't know what the hell's going on. Sometimes later it becomes apparent. And we had one that was our first of retained sperm clutch, I think a year ago maybe. That was pretty awesome, So it's fun to do that kind of stuff because cutting the Toffino clutch, all I'm really looking for is, are they alive? I mean, I know I can't tell for sure what they are right now. I know they're albino or Toffino. There's no, it's like cutting a pied clutch. There's no surprise in there other than how much white's on the pied. So all you're really looking at is, are my babies healthy? That's all you're looking at. When you cut something that shocks you, that's pretty cool. And I remember too cutting my Calico Blitz clutch, the first one, and that shocked the hell out of me because I just didn't expect to see what I saw. So I said, can I ask a question? We just bought a normal, told she's 12 months, and we got her home. We've seen that she's very thin. How do we get her back to the right weight? Our other girl is 477 grams. Well, if she's thin, I mean, the short answer is just feed her. But don't overfeed her. If you feed her consistently, just put her on a normal schedule and feed her and get her eating. You may have to start with smaller meals, and it could be she was a Mauser. I mean, working in a reptile shop or owning part of it, you'd be appalled at some of the things people have brought in where they're like, oh, here's my 7-foot boa I don't want anymore. Oh, what have you been feeding this thing? Looking at it because it looks terrible. Oh, a mouse a week or a mouse every 2 weeks. I'm like, just make sure she's getting the appropriate amount of food, but you may have to start small if she was underfed to get her up to that size, or do your best. Sometimes they won't get to that size very easy. And a consistent feeding, and then she will get there. And yes, I do think candy and toffee are the same. I think a lot of things are the same. I think there's a lot of marketing that's happened, and it continues to happen. 36 grams and 12 months old? There's no way. There's no way she's 36 grams and 12 months old. Somebody's lying to you. 36 grams is a very small hatchling. Not the smallest, but a very small hatchling. 36 grams is like, there's no way a snake can be a year old at 36 grams. It would have starved to death. So either that thing's never eaten, most likely they sold it to you at 36 grams, and maybe they meant 12 weeks old, which if they sold you a snake that's 12 weeks old and hasn't eaten and is that thin, I'll be honest, it ain't looking real good, and you're probably at the point of needing to assist feed if it doesn't eat on its own. 36 grams, you're probably looking at, I'd probably start like pinky mice at that size. 'Size. Maybe it's just a little bit of fuzz on them. That's about it. Uh, 36 grams, you're probably looking at, I'd probably start like pinky mice at that size. Maybe it's just a little bit of fuzz on them. That's about it. 36 grams, you're probably looking at, I'd probably start like pinky mice at that size. Maybe it's just a little bit of fuzz on them. That's about it. But if it's truly 36, that's not a typo. I don't want to get your hopes up, to be honest. So, right, yeah, that's pretty typical. I say 55 to about 75 grams is about what I see on a hatchling. Uh, yeah, 36 grams. Like, I mean, that's that. I mean, that's. I'll show you something here. This is the tiniest baby we hatched this year. Not you. And it hasn't fed yet. I need to get it an extra small meal, and it's a little bit of a jerk. Okay. This is the one you guys saw. This one because I told you originally I thought it was a kink mess. So, um, it's not a kink mess. Well, let me just pick this up. So this, okay, that's a little bitty one. Now I'm gonna put a Sharpie in there just for case of point for size reference. Okay, that's what we're dealing with. That's what we're dealing with. Born very small, tight egg. Somewhere I got a little hook in here. Here it is. So we don't get her teeth popped out. I'm trying to make this as easy for her as we can, because you can see she is already in the mode of wanting to bite something. You gonna hold on there, little girl? Come on. I'm gonna put her on the scale, and she probably weighs close to that. So she's 35 grams, 36, 34. It's gonna pick a spot. So anyway, essentially you're talking about that, and you're telling that you've been told it's a year old, right? There is no way that thing is a year old. This is tiny, and it is just a few weeks old. Had its first opportunity to feed, didn't take it, so I have to go to like a smaller item. It'll probably get a mouse, a very small mouse hopper. Teeny tiny, just something to crawl around with some fuzz on it. It does hate my guts. It is very defensive. It's actually gotten better. Probably a little Blitz leopard, maybe. Maybe just be, yeah, it's probably a Blitz leopard. So the point I guess I'm making is something's got to be wrong in that story, either on the measurement, the weight, your scale might be messed up, or whoever sold it to you is completely full of shit. Because there's no, you can't have anything the right length for 12 months and be 36 grams. It's just not possible at all. So, not possible. Because the right length of 12 months is, it couldn't be 36 grams. Hell, their head weighs that at 12 months. They're the right length. So, very, very thin would be, you know what, even a couple hundred grams would be terribly thin. So somebody asked, do you work with Trick? And what is your opinion of what's being said that it's the same as Blitz and Hurricane? So I don't have any Trick, all right, at all. And I've never had twins, Nikki. I keep wanting one. That could be, I mean, something's got to be off on those measurements. So my thoughts on Trick and Blitz and Hurricane is, again, I think there's a lot of marketing in ball pythons, right? And Trick was around, I think, before any of the other two, but you didn't see it a lot. Blitz came out, and I don't know if it was, you know, I'm not 100% sure if it's the same or not as the other two. Now, I've seen some things and just from visually looking that tell me they're very, very similar. Blitz, Trick, and Hurricane, all three. The telltale sign is going to be when we start seeing more combos, right, out there. That's going to tell us, you know. And there's no super for Trick yet, but has anybody really pushed it? Or even then gone so far as to see if, hey, I hold these back, or any of them super? Because some supers, like super leopards, don't look that much different from normals. So I'm pretty sure it's going to prove to have a super. Or it's going to prove to be allelic with Blitz. Now, here's something to kind of think about it. That could just be the one pairing too. I mean, let's keep in mind, you know, I had an entire clutch bred from the Suma that wasn't, and I had another one actually that we just pulled that we had a high slug rate in. So does that mean Suma's not viable to breed? No, that means I used a really young male and he probably struggled his first year. It's part of it, right? So one thing I'm going to stress to the hobby to try, and we haven't done well at this as a hobby as a whole. So I'm going to pick on lesser and butter. Okay, it's pretty widely accepted they're the same thing, and I agree they're the same thing. I'm going to point to something else too. We're going to talk about in cinnamon and black pastel, where the ball python hobby did a good job. If we would have taken, uh, let me get through this thing first. We'll handle a few more questions there, Timothy. If we would have taken butter and lesser, and they had never gotten crossed over, and then it's just kind of mixed and sold and interchanged, we would have two different lines. It may be the same morph still, but two different lines because of the way they'd have been bred, what they'd have been bred to. They'd have become visually distinct a little bit just from lineage. And so one would be able to sit there and look and say, oh, this is a butter and this is a lesser, even when they were paired together to make supers. The problem is bells are very viable. People sort of doing that all the time. It gets mixed in, and you don't know which line is coming. And now it's impossible. I feel, oh, that's a butter. And another guy could, oh, that's a lesser. It's the same damn snake, like all the time. So like I've played that game 100 times, and it's people are like, oh, I can tell. Bullshit. You can tell what you think, but it's the other guy's going to say that, and that's what makes it all the same. Now, I'm a believer that cinnamon and black pastel are probably just as similar as lesser and butter. The difference is because the super form is not very viable, and most of them kink up. They didn't get bred as often, so there's really no reason to mix the two and cross the two and to go, oh, I think it's this, I think it's that, I think it's that. So the lineage has been kept separate. It started from different individuals coming in. It wasn't like we just renamed it. So, you had different wild individuals coming in, started in different places, bred through. The lineage all tracks back different, and they are visually distinct. You can see one will have a little bit more dark to it, one will look a little different here. But are they that different that it's truly an entirely different gene? If you broke down the DNA, I would bet it would not be. But because of the line breeding, it has taken on a separate individual look. I think we're probably very likely dealing with a very similar situation in things like Blitz, Trick, and Hurricane. But we may not be. They could be different too. Xanthic is another great example. The Xanthics look the same, but it's all a different gene. An SK Xanthic is actually a different gene than a VPI Xanthic. They're not compatible. They will not link up. So it's kind of one of those things. Cinnamon and Inchy being allelic, I have not heard that. I mean, it would be pretty easy to tell, and I'm pretty sure Cinnamon Inchies have been around for a very long time, and if they're allelic, I would expect it to be pretty easy to know. I haven't checked into it though, so yeah. And so I mean, and the combos though with Trick, are they going to look the same as the combos with Blitz? Which are going to look the same as the combos with Hurricane, and consistently the same. So I mean, you're going to have a little bit of difference, right? Think about combos with cinnamon and combos with black pastel. They're very, very similar. You can still pick them out usually. And that's what the telltale sign is going to be. Now, if they're all allelic, people just start mixing them and then pushing them out and just using whatever name that's got the highest value at the time to get more money, that kind of shit, then it's all going to muddy up and it's all definitely going to be the same. But if we keep it separate, even if it's actually the same gene per se, the line breeding will be keep it visually distinct. Think of banana coral glow, been all mixed up, things like that. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, honestly, I thought Blitz and Trick were probably at least allelic from very early on. Hurricane being the newest one that came in. So, what's up, David? Somebody asked, what was a favorite for me out of those three? Well, Danielle, for me, it's Blitz because I have it. No, that's why. We'll see it in the Trick Black Pastel would be interesting because I've done some Blitz Black Pastel. So that comparison can be pretty easily made then because there are some key things I've noticed that you tend to have with Blitz Black Pastel, one of which is a broken eye stripe. The eye stripe will not carry through. It will have a break. Sometimes bigger, sometimes less, but there will be a break here. Where's color, normal pattern, and then it comes back. So I would look for that on Trick Black Pastel too, and then just overall how they look. Because it's kind of a cool thing together, but it's not overly like, bam, you got to look for it. because they do some similar things to the colors and patterns that black pastel do, but they obviously do it quite a bit different too. So somebody had a question I said I'd get back to. It was Timothy. He asked, will males go on hunger strike prior to year? One of my boys, 400 grams, not shown interest in eating the past 2 feeds. They can. Males are funny. It's usually pheromone related from your females. So, what's my favorite combo I've ever made? Oh shit, that's probably my Killer Bee Exanthic I made, although it did not survive. Probably still my favorite combo. I really like the Calibi, and I'll show you this one. This is one of my favorites too. What are you doing hiding in there? This little girl's having herself a soak. This actually gives me a chance to illustrate something I was talking about too. So what we have here, we believe, is a 4-gene combo of banana, black pastel, blitz, and calico. So this color has only come up on camera, so you get the eye to show. There you can see the broken eye stripe I'm talking about. See how it doesn't carry into the eye there? Show you the other side. It's really prominent on the other side. See that break in the eye stripe? That's something I've noticed when those two genes are together. And of course, just the wonkiness of the pattern in the side. You'll see the twisting from the Blitz. And then having made Blitz calicos, you do see a lot of the Blitz calico type stuff going on back there as well. So, very cool animal. Probably the only one that I know of in existence is right here. I did keep it. It is a holdback, and it is a little female. So I really dig this snake. This is one of my favorite combos, just because it's. And again, I'm looking at it in person and on the screen, and the screen does not do it justice. It looks really muddled on the screen, where in person the colors do truly pop. So it's very vibrant on the back stripe as well. Really a cool thing. You have one. You don't have one of these. Nobody else has got one of these that I know of. If you do, I'd be curious to see it, because I can't even say if for 100% I'm right on the genetics until I breed that thing out. Part of that is an educated guess, right? Oh, let me sit back down. All right, guys, we've been at this now for 32 minutes, so we're going to go to 35, unless, of course, there's some super chats. Super chats make me stay longer, and then either way, we're going to slide over to Patreon. A black pewter coral girl possible calico. There you go. But see, the Blitz is what's really changed now, because the Blitz calico stuff looks so cool. How are you doing, girlie? And this is our original produced in-house Blitz calico. So I'd be really curious what Trick does with calico. I did not get what I expected to get when I made this animal, but damn, it's cool as hell, right? There we go. Pastel, that's a good pairing. We actually, to that one this year, we were actually putting some Exanthic, gonna run that through. So, all right, hold on a second. We're going to just hush for a second. Because you don't have that one, and you're asking about cobras and just kind of being a pain in the ass. So we'll get you gone there for a while. So I have a pastel animal hobby Trick that's going to be putting in some work this coming year. Perfect. And that's, I'd be curious how those pop out too, because the Trick, I want to see how similar those combos are, and that will really help us make a determination if we're dealing with the same thing. Because I don't have an answer right now. I have opinions, but opinions like assholes. We all have them, right? So sometimes I have them on here. Part of it. All right, guys. The Stranger Gene. See, here's the thing on the Stranger Gene. I'm not that worried about it. I'm not that into it right now. It's probably, I haven't checked. It's probably going up in price due to marketing. But Stranger's been around a long time. I remember seeing Stranger stuff like years and years and years ago. It's nothing new. So it's just kind of sit there in the back burner, and now it's being pulled up and pushed, which isn't a bad thing, but I already knew about it, so it's not like it's anything if I really wanted to get into it, I would have got into it then. And hell, they were dirt cheap. I mean, you could have when you could find them, people were selling for hardly anything because nobody was doing anything with it. Blitz originally was pretty cheap when I got into Blitz because people were just like, wow, I'm gonna do with this. Well, there's so much to do with it. You just take somebody to unlock it and show what it can do, and then the market will start to accept it. More demand, obviously, and creates more price. Just kind of the way that thing works. So 2008, Martok says, since it came out, and I would believe that. And then where do you think the future, this will be the last one, so we do some super chat stuff. Otherwise, we're going to have to dip out of here. Where do you think the future of ball python breeding is going? Is there another reptile you believe will take over? Yes and no. I think the future of ball python breeding is strong. I don't think there's ever been an animal that's brought people into the hobby like ball pythons have. Uh, you know, and I think that's a good thing. I think part of it's just the fact it's still exotic. It carries a python name, and a lot of people want that. It's a thicker snake. It's a big enough snake to be like impressive looking to people, without being so big. It's a problem. They tend to be very docile. If they do bite, it's not a problem. Yeah, Anthony Red Stripe was the exact thing, and the exact same thing happened. And now, if you go find Red Stripe, guess what? It's back to being right. So, just kind of what I'd say. So, and it's so like on the ball python breeding thing, I think it's going to stay strong. Will there be another animal take over? Probably at some point. But will it really take over? And I don't think it will. And yeah, that's one thing JKR does. It's a marketing thing. And you know what? It's genius. I'm not saying the guy's wrong to do it. If you can do it, man, fuck, do it. You know? I would. Why not? And now in order to do that too, he's been hiding stuff back and setting on it, making those combos for years, and then releasing it and then pushing the market, the offspring. So, it takes a long time to do it that way. We're set up where if I did that now, I'd have to not be as transparent, and I don't want to do that. But it was really a brilliant thing that he did. But I think the market's going to stay strong. And even when another animal, quote unquote, takes over, the ball python market will still be strong. And in some ways stronger. Because what will happen if another takeover animal comes out, you'll see people flock to it, right? A lot of breeders will flock to it, and then the ball pythons, it won't be as heavy, but the ones who are set up to stay will be able to stay and continue to do it. So I think it'll stay strong. There's been other animals that are a prime example of that. Corn snakes. For a long time, corn snakes were it. We just dropped a corn snake video. If you haven't watched it, you really should. It's pretty cool. You'll see some of the most rare corn snakes in the world in that video, located here in Kansas, including I don't ever get my Instagram, Joseph. You have to. It's a shit show. I'm not very good at that. Including a scaleless palmetto. So check that out, because as far as I know, only 2 people have scaleless palmettos, and one of them happens to be here in Kansas. So corn snakes used to control the market. They were the king, right? And I'll get to that one on Patreon, Nikki. We'll talk about that on Patreon. And as ball pythons have taken over and now are kind of the main thing in the market, I can tell you from experience, with running a reptile shop, we still sell corns as fast as we can get them. There's still a corn snake market. It didn't die. It doesn't die at all. So it will stay. It will stay strong. I also do think it's very hard for an animal to knock off a ball python, especially as a snake. They hit this perfect combination of simple to keep for the most part, perfect size, and exotic enough, which is actually a thing, trust me. And then on top of that, they come in so many colors that it's, not every snake is appropriate to keep in racks either, and they are. They thrive like this, as opposed to like carpets. Carpets suck ass in racks. So they're hard to beat combination to take over. All right, guys, I stayed on longer than I said I would for free, so I'm gonna hop up off of here and slide over to Patreon and go chat about that and quit talking about Gila monsters. So we'll catch you guys next time.